That is a series victory for your Detroit Tigers in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, April 26th, 2023. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All righty. The Detroit Tigers win 4-3 against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee, taking game 2 of the series, meaning that they have won the series against the Brew crew. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Thanks in large part to the bullpen, who continues to be absolutely amazing. The offense, let's start with the offense, okay? Because if we're going chronologically, the first thing that happened in this game happened before the game even started, which I guess means it didn't happen in the game. But regardless, the first conversation piece happened before the game even started, because there was a lot of conversation and seemingly issue with the lineup before the game even started. They went 8 righties and Kerry Carpenter against Eric Lauer, who's a left-handed pitcher. We hadn't had the all kind of righty lineup, or 8 righties and a lefty lineup, in a while. We hadn't seen the lefty lineup in a while. And yeah, a lot of people took, I don't want to say put words in people's mouths and say that people took issue with it, but a lot of people were having the conversation of voicing frustration maybe about no Nick Maton, no Zach McKinstry, and Kerry Carpenter batting 9. Look, this team is full of guys with OPSs in the 600s. Currently, on April 26th, full of dudes with OPSs in the 600s. So this management staff, AJ Inge, is going to attempt to put the 9 best hitters out there on any given night. I think that there's a little more legitimacy maybe with the Nick Maton question, just because his numbers against lefties in his major league career aren't awful. But I guess Eric Lauer throws a heater. We know Nick Maton likes to throw the heater, or likes to swing at the heater rather. But when you have a team full of dudes with below league average offensive numbers, you're trying to find any advantage you possibly can. And the players that are the best options available at their position against both righties and lefties will be in the lineup every night. Maton also got 3 at-bats still in this game and went 0 for. So, there you go. So I want to not, I don't even want to say push back, because it wasn't like it was a huge, people were freaking out over it. But it was definitely a conversation that was had before the game even started, just with the way that McKinstry and Maton and Carpenter had been swinging the bat. But in the game itself, clearly this lineup was at least somewhat effective, because against the lefty starter, before they went to righties out of the bullpen, they absolutely kind of dominated Eric Lauer. He was all over the place. Zero command, and the Tigers did him no favors at the plate. It was good. 85 pitches in just 3 innings pitched. 10 base runners in 3 innings with 4 runs. That ain't bad. We'll gladly take that. Worked pretty much every count, rather, which is great. Even had multiple hits with runners in scoring position, which is like some sort of a Christmas miracle. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. They were kind of cooking there for a little bit, though, for real, which was great. Great approach, great execution. Power stroke from Carpenter. We'll talk about him in a sec. And timely hitting. Got power and timely hitting. It was beautiful to see. Great first couple of innings there offensively. The problem is innings 4 through 9 were same old, same old. This ended up being a game in which the Tigers left 10 men on base as a team and went 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position, which isn't too, we've seen a lot worse, I guess I'll say. But after the 3rd inning, they were 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position. So they went over after their 4-run inning. They did not score the rest of the game. Obviously, the final score is 4-3, but they didn't even get a single hit with a runner in scoring position the rest of the game. So it was enough to hold on because apparently our bullpen is like the 2015 Royals right now. But I would love to see this team actually just have one full game of timely hitting. Like, I'm not asking for an 8-for-10 performance of runners in scoring position or anything like that. But like, if I could just see a 5-for-10 with like any hits coming between the 4th through the 8th inning, that would be awesome. I leave the 9th out because apparently this team loves to, has a thrill for the dramatic and loves to get big hits in the 9th inning. But it's just, it was a frustrating second half to a game that was a really, really pleasant surprise of a first half offensively. Individually, let's start with Kerry Carpenter, 1-for-4 with a homer, and the homer was off a lefty, the big story offensively of the game. Of his now 10 MLB home runs, that was just his second off of a left-handed pitcher, still on a fastball. And once after that at bat, rather, he got the kitchen sink of all off speed and breaking ball stuff. But and he struck out twice still in this game. But he was working counts. He was spitting on a lot of the low stuff, which was great to see. Like he hasn't been chasing low too terribly much. He chases outside and he chases fastballs up, but I think it's just because he wants to hit the fastball so badly. But yeah, he still put together some not awful, like relatively competitive ABs despite the pair of strikeouts there. And yeah, just needs to adjust and get more so than anything. We've talked about it a million times, but just needs to hit better against non-fastballs. And yeah, like he certainly, I think, is going to get more of a look against lefties and kind of work his way out of that righty platoon conversation. And hopefully, if he continues to hit well against lefties, can turn himself into an everyday ball player, which would be pretty exciting, not only for him, but for the team. And you got to remember where he was last season. The general public did not know who Kerry Carpenter was at this time last year, in April of last year. And then he led the minors in home runs out of nowhere. 2 years ago, he was like a solid, high 700s OPS minor leaguer. and then just absolutely, he hadn't even played in AAA yet, just absolutely dominated. And now we're talking about him being an everyday player on this team in 2023. Fascinating stuff. Big win for the development team. And obviously a huge win for Kerry Carpenter himself. Matt Vierling, 3-for-5 in this ball game. They were all soft contact hits the other way, which I don't think is a sustainable way of like executing, getting on base, but we will gladly take it. Getting him on base is going to be so important for this team just because his speed can be a real difference maker. We saw it in Baltimore. The sac fly, one of the only runs we scored all weekend, was a shallow fly ball that he was able to score on. Got the stolen base in this one. Didn't amount to anything, but still, that speed is really, really important for this lineup. Riley Green, not in the starting lineup. Don't think that this was really a righty-lefty thing, just because as a pro, his righty and lefty splits have always been pretty similar. Maybe it was a Lauer-specific thing, like his style of pitching, maybe. But we've also seen everybody who's made a base running mistake either not play the rest of that game, if you're talking about Javi, or not play the next game. So I'm not saying it's that. I'm not saying he was getting, like, I don't want to say punished, but I'm not saying that it was like a message sent or anything like that. I think that message has been sent to the team, but it is worth noting that he did not start this ball game. And then in the one at bat he did get late in the game, shockingly to no one, it was a ground out to second base. So got to keep an eye on that situation. I'm sure he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow. But yeah, did not start this game. And then even when a righty was put in, did not immediately come into the ball game. Spencer Torkelson. Let's talk about him after the break. That's called a tease, everybody. That's in the business. That's very important. At first, though, we got to talk about FanDuel. Grand slams, no-hitters, double plays. They are back, and there's no better place to bet on MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, new customers can get up to $1,000 in bonus bets. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon, sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So don't miss your chance at the no sweat first bet. Again, up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Also got to tell y'all about our friends over at So Rare. We've been talking about So Rare a lot lately. They are super fun. Their commercials are all over TV now, which is great to see with Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez in them. It's very cool. But yeah, it's this new revolutionary fantasy baseball game that combines kind of marketplace and fantasy games into one. It transforms fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 major league teams. Yeah, you are actually the owner of your team. You collect, buy, sell, compete, all with cards against global opponents and win epic rewards. And win or lose, you still own your cards and still own your team. That's what makes it so awesome. Yeah, it's super cool. It's set up just like fantasy. You get kind of 2 games a week. You have the weekday games, then the weekend slate. It's awesome. I highly recommend trying it out. It is super fun, and I've never really seen anything like it. And I'm absolutely fascinated by the whole thing. So head to sorare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free players, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/locked on to start playing today. Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. As always, shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every single day. Tomorrow, we're going to be recapping, hopefully, a series sweep? Question mark. We'll find out tomorrow. Let's talk about this ball game. Spencer Torkelson was all over the baseball tonight. 2 for 5. 5 balls put in play. 99.6 mile an hour. 102.6 mile an hour, 105.1 mile an hour, 103.8 mile an hour, and 84.8 mile an hour single there were the exit velocities on the 5 balls he put in play. Just was all over it, almost had a homer, hit it to dead center, warning track fly out in dead center. Yeah, was absolutely just ripping the baseball. Had an RBI in this one, hard hit down the line with a runner in scoring position. Shocker. So yeah, that really, really good to see him get some good swings on the ball in this one. Let's talk Tyler Nevin. He destroyed AAA pitching and has been pretty non-competitive so far in the majors. I still don't think we see Justin Henry Malloy until mid-May when service manipulation time is here. We talked about it a little bit last week. Justin Henry Malloy, by the way, destroying AAA pitching. Absolutely incredible season he's off to so far. But we talked about last week how a lot of the guys at the bottom of this roster are just going to be part of the revolving door. And if you don't get results, you're not going to last too terribly long. And Tyler Nevin was not on the team at the beginning of the season due to an injury, and now is here and isn't producing. At first, I thought it was going to be Zach McKinstry, but he's been hitting. He's been one of the better hitters on your team over the last couple of weeks. He's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So I think Tyler Nevin really needs to turn it around and start hitting, or else he's going to find the same fate as Ryan Kreidler. Heck, it might even be, if it's before mid-May, it might even be in place for Ryan Kreidler. They might call him back up. We'll see. But I think that when it comes to the bottom of the bullpen and when it comes to the bottom of the offense, whoever is not producing, you better start, because by the time, especially once we get out of that like mid-May kind of, Memorial Day-ish timeline, you better put up some results, or else I think you're going to be on a pretty short leash. I think we're going to see a lot of roster moves this year. So just another weak game from Nevin. So something that was worth pointing out. Miguel Cabrera, the hardest hit ball of the entire night for either team. It was for a single, which is hilarious, but over 107 miles an hour off the wall. Again, for a single. Just so unbelievably funny. But yeah, a couple of hits in this one. Had an infield single. Speed kills, baby. So good to see Miggy get a couple of hits. Always fun to see. Jonathan Scope with a walk and a hit. Long way to go till he's out of the conversation of like getting DFA'd in a month. But definitely nice to see. I would rather he hit than we DFA'd him. Like I would rather. So we'll see what he can do here. But a good game in this one. Rogers with another walk. He's been doing that a lot lately. Thought that was worth pointing out, just how much he's been walking as of late. Lastly, let's do Javi, and then we'll get to Spencer Turnbull, the starter in this game. Javi's been on an absolute tear since getting benched, which is rather on brand for Javi Baez. The hit streak is now at double digits, 2 for 5 in this one. A lot of doubles in the stretch. I think he's got an OPS of around 1,000 in the last 10 games. Still doesn't have a home run on the season, which is kind of frustrating. I would like to see that, but this is still really, really good to see. And while this level of production, like to this extent, is certainly not sustainable, I would like to see at least some sustainability. What I don't want, let me really articulate what I don't want. What I don't want, let's get the FanDuel banner off the screen there. There we go. What I really don't want is him to have a 200 OPS for 3 weeks and then an 1,000 OPS for 3 weeks and then just go back and forth the entire whatever next 5 years, 4 years like that. That's what I don't want. I would like a little bit of consistency. I understand that just his style and approach as a whole is going to lead to hot and cold streaks, but I don't want to go that high and that low. I don't want the peaks and valleys to be that different. So I'm hoping for at least a little bit of sustainability. And he has walked a little bit at a higher clip than we're used to. Maybe that has something to do with it. We'll see. Need a bigger sample size to really tell on that one. But he's been hitting the ball well lately, and that's always good to see. Spencer Turnbull started this ball game, 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 75 pitches. He was all over the place in this one. There's really no way around it. Just never really looked comfortable. It took about 5 batters for me to realize that the slider was just not going to be an effective pitch in this ball game, which would lead me to believe that he probably felt that even earlier than I noticed it. So I would imagine very early on in this one, he was kind of like, oh boy, this does not feel right. And yeah, like as a whole, though, especially in the second and fourth inning, was just not able to attack hitters the way that he wanted to. Only had 4 whiffs the entire outing. Just didn't have a feel for anything besides his 4-seam fastball. And when you can only even remotely locate one pitch, that makes it a lot easier as a hitter to kind of sit dead red and just turn on the fastball because you know it's the only competitive pitch that he's able to throw at the moment. He tried to throw the sinker at one point. That thing moves a ton. It had its moments, but really just no feel for anything. Never really looked comfortable. His stuff looks good. The stuff has always looked good. It moves a lot. It's always been really effective. His entire career, dating back to 2019 when he led the American League in losses on an 114 loss team. Like even back then, the stuff has always looked good. And the velocity, there's been 0 issue of velo since coming back from Tommy John. But the consistent command has been a big issue this season. And the thing is, that was an issue before Tommy John. That's been an issue since his first start. That's been an issue since his debut. So we'll see. I'm still not ready to sound the alarms and be like, oh my goodness, Spencer Turnbull is never going to be a starting pitcher again. But it's definitely a situation to obviously keep tabs on. And tonight, thankfully, he handed the ball off to a bullpen that has been absolutely lights out. We will talk about that bullpen that has been lights out right after I tell you all about our friends over at the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Coolest game I have played in a long time. I've always thought that I could be a Major League GM. And it turns out it's not all that easy. If you've had the same thought and you fantasize about managing your own franchise, then go download the Pro Baseball GM app immediately. This game allows you to take every strategic aspect of your franchise and utilize it to the best of your abilities. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches, the right staff, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, managing through difficult personalities, injuries, navigating your franchise through free agency, the ups and downs of the season, etc. Okay, all of this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want, when you want. It is awesome. Okay, highly recommend. It is unbelievably fun, truly. Locked On Tigers listeners are also getting a 100% free boost to their franchise when using promo code Locked On at the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. The Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, everybody. Welcome back for third and final segment here of Locked On Tigers. Talking about this bullpen, despite Turnbull only going 4 innings, we still only used 3 relievers tonight, and that is a massive win. That is so huge, especially in a victory. That's so massive. I cannot stress how awesome it is to have your starter go 4 in a win and only have to use 3 of your relievers. Just absolutely massive, especially again when going into a series finale and then heading into turning around. Like, you don't have a day off for a while. So that's vital. Absolutely vital. We'll talk about the biggest reason why here in a second. Going over everybody who pitched in this game, not named Spencer Turnbull. Tyler Alexander, 1 inning pitched, 1 hit, 1 earned run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Rowdy Tellez hit a nuke on what might have been legitimately the worst major league pitch I've seen thrown so far this season. Not all time. Look this pitch up. Seriously, look it up. You can tweet at me or whatever once you look it up. I want everyone to go look up. I think it was Colby Milner for the Angels on opening day. I think it was 2020. Matt Olson hit a home run off of him, and that is forever to me the worst pitch I've ever seen thrown in a Major League Baseball game. Go look it up. It is just a breaking ball that does not break, belt high, right over the plate to one of the best power hitters alive, and it was a walk-off homer on opening day. Anyway, this pitch, not too much different, which is why the only reason I bring it up, flashbacks for sure, like just a cutter that did not cut, not very high velocity pitch, and it was right belt high over the heart of the plate. But besides that pitch that Tyler Alexander threw, I actually thought this was the best he has looked the entire season. Legitimately. He was really good command outside of one pitch. Stuff was really solid outside of one pitch, but really, really effective. Seriously. When he was attacking everybody, efficient, effective. The stuff just had some more zip on it, some more life on it tonight. I was pretty impressed with Tyler Alexander until the last battery phase. So solid. If that's how he looks the rest of the year, I think we're going to be in for some pretty effective relief work from Tyler Alexander, which is good because he didn't get off to a great start to this year and hasn't looked really like that all season. The story out of the pen in this game is one of 2 people. We're going to start with Mason Englert just for the sake of chronological order. 2 2/3, 1 hit, no runs or walks against, and 4 strikeouts. He gave up a homer in Tampa and then had a really awful outing. I think it was against Toronto. And outside of that, he has been absolutely sensational. The ERA is back under 4 now on the season. He has been a true multiple innings threat out of the pen, and it's awesome. Rule 5 pick, really making a name for himself. The amount of faith that AJ has in him. I didn't expect him to go out there for the 8th inning? I was not expecting to see Mason Englert run out of the dugout, and he did. And even despite the double, like, really went out there and looked great, man. Like, he looked so good. And the biggest reason why, and this is not only Mason Englert's doing, this is also Jake Rogers doing, great pitch calling. The pitch sequencing in this game made me feel some type of way. Like, oh my goodness, just unbelievable. Listen to this, 40 pitches. He threw 16 changeups, 12 sliders, 6 curveballs, and 6 four-seam fastballs. He had 10 whiffs and a whopping 43% CSW percentage, called strikes plus whiffs percentage. Just another absolutely insane performance for Mason Englert. Give the man his flowers. He absolutely deserves it. I hope that this is something that's sustainable. And with pitch mixes like that, the slider is a legitimate threat. That is a legitimate weapon that we have seen as a weapon used all season already. I love what I see out of this kid. I really do. And if he can be a legitimate bridge reliever to go multiple innings and carry short outings into the back part of this pen that has also been really good this season, he's going to be unbelievably valuable to this baseball team. So love what we've seen out of him so far this year. Jason Foley, than the other story out of the pen. 1 1/3, 0 hits, walks, or runs, 2 strikeouts. ERA is now under 2 on the season. I think it's 1.74. It's insane how impossible it is to lift the ball against Jason Foley. It's nuts. He's so legit. He's so legit. Hit 98 miles an hour again. Looks super confident on the mound. There was one outing this year, and I said it on air now that I think about it. There was one outing early in the season where I said he looks scared to pitch. Like he's trying to nibble. He's not attacking anybody. Like he looks afraid to like throw the ball in the zone. Ever since I said that on air, he has had screw you mentality on the bump, and he has looked lethal. It's he's a guaranteed ground ball. And again, like at some point, I said this yesterday, at some point this season, people are going to get mad at him because he's going to come in a big outing and somebody's going to hit like 2 or 3 ground ball singles and people are going to go, oh, Jason Foley's washed and he sucks. When in actuality, he's always just been a ground ball guy and sometimes the ball just is hit where it ain't. So like that's going to happen and I'm going to have to deal. We're all going to have to deal with that when it does, but because it's inevitable. But it cannot be stressed enough, regardless of the inevitability of that, how insanely valuable it is to have a guaranteed ground ball in your bullpen. Like I said yesterday, 29 other Major League Baseball teams would do unthinkable things to have a guaranteed ground ball at any time they want in a game to just walk out of their pen. And that's what he is. Beautiful stuff. That's kind of all I got. I guess just talking about the team in general terms. I do want to talk about a tweet that Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic had where he pointed out that we have hit 9 wins. The Tigers are 9-13 after that victory. That is the quickest the Tigers have gotten to 9 wins in the AJ Hinch era. We obviously remember 2021. They started off 9-22 and then turned it around and played over 500 ball the rest of the season. Then last year was a complete disaster. They started off that year 9-20. This year, 9-13. Look, man, first off, just it was always ridiculous. The people that were like, this team's one of the worst Tigers teams I've ever seen in my life, and they're going to be worse than the 03 and the 2019 Tigers. That was always preposterous, no matter how bad of a start they got off to on the whatever opening series of an 162-game season. But it's like I said, just keep your head above water. No one's expecting you to even go over 500 the first 6 weeks of the season. No one. And like, they still might lose the next 8 in a row. Who knows? Right? They play the games for a reason. But like if you can just keep your head above water and have a somewhat remotely competitive, competent record after you get through this brutal first month and a half schedule-wise, you could have a decent summer. Relatively speaking. Again, I'm not saying the Tigers are going to win 80 plus games. But like you could make some noise and maybe have some fun. Please. Please. I'm begging. I'm no shame. I'm begging. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully recapping a series victory. We're going against Freddie Peralta. That's scary, but we got a series victory in Milwaukee, baby. And like the fact that we got 2 wins before facing Freddie Peralta is awesome because now if he goes out there and shoves and goes 8 innings, 10 Ks, and we get 2 hit, shutout, who cares? We're chilling. We took a series in Milwaukee, baby. We're fine with it. And then we go and play Baltimore again this weekend, and that's kind of terrifying. We'll be here through it all, though. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. We'll be back. Peace and love. I already said that. Go Tigers, baby.